No. And the reason I say this is because there's still some free agents out there that we might be getting. Like, I've been thinking about the draft a little bit, but it's mostly on who's going in that top 10 and where some of these other people are going. Like, we did a little mock thing of where we thought some of these quarterbacks would be going, and I'm so far doing pretty good on my predictions. So I'm curious to see where some of these young quarterbacks go in the draft, but I'm not super concerned with the Packers. Goody's done a pretty good job. Like, as much as I like to bash on his draft skills occasionally, he's hit on a handful, and this Jordan Love one was one that I thought was a big F at first, and now I'm kind of eating crow. So
A+.
Yeah, I'm sitting back, and I'm just going to let Goody do his thing. I'm not going to worry about it or fret about it at all, personally.
Yeah, Strofe, what about you?
I'm pretty much in the same boat as Matt, right? Like, right now I'm in the midst of over-consuming college basketball. As obviously the round of 64 in the men's tournament tipping off yesterday, the women's tournament tipping off today. So I'm going to overconsume college basketball for a few weeks, and then I'll dive in. But I think it's more about positional need than it is necessarily a specific player. And I listened to Kuiper yesterday and talking about the Iowa D-back, Cooper. How do you say that, Jason? Is it DeJean? Is it DeJean?
I've now heard it multiple ways, and I was going to look that up because I had heard it as DeJean. And I don't know if that's like you being a Green Bay guy. We have Cormier Road here. There's like a Target store on it and stuff. And people who have any sort of French knowledge always say, I'll meet you at that place on Cormier. Well, oui, monsieur. But no, it's Cormier. So I don't know if he's French or not.
But nonetheless, that's the one guy I've kind of had my eyes on just because of the positional need at safety. And as Mel Kiper said on Wilde and Tausch yesterday, he's viewed as the top safety and probably the second or third best corner in this draft. And defensive back is probably the top of the line when it comes to needs for the Packers that they're going to address here in the draft with 11 picks. But I haven't really dove into player names and relative athletic scores quite yet. Jason, outside of former Badgers running back Isaac Garendo having the second best ever for a running back behind Saquon Barkley. So I'll let Goody take care of that. I'll just sit back and enjoy the show.
We will talk more about the draft because I do have two big Packers fans along for the ride today as our cousin subs of the day. Again, Alex Strofe and Olympic gold medalist Matt Hamilton are live from Pin Seekers in DeForest. I was looking at the website. It's an impressive place. Like, even someone of limited skill like myself at this point in my golf career, I could see myself hitting a bucket of balls there. I think that looks like fun. So I'm sorry I'm missing out. We will do if we.
Not only that, Jason, they got a little duck pin bowling downstairs you could get into. They have bowling.
That's like, are those like those are like the tiny little pins, right?
Mm-hmm. With the small little 2-pound bowling ball. It's a lot of fun.
Is it more like bowling or more like curling, given the size of the pins? Is it? Yeah, I suppose there's crossover for you.
Yeah, sure, certainly crossover. But just the fact that there's something for everybody out here at Pin Seekers, full bar and 50-cent Coors Light taps, and the range where I can just go and hit dingers all afternoon. I'm looking forward to the opportunity.
Now that you're back on the video stream, and again, you can join us Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Is that a Ben Brust jersey?
Sure is. I traded one of my Olympic jerseys for it. So I think this is even game-worn Ben Brust jersey.
I was in the ESPN Madison Everlight Solar Studios last week. I considered stealing your bobblehead of you because you had promised me one in exchange for the Paula and Jason wedding bobbleheads, which
That's true.
Regret to inform you, I still have lots of.
I was going to say, how many of those do you have, Jason?
I think we have about 15 that are left over from our wedding. We had 200-plus guests, and so they all got one, but we ordered more than we needed.
If you're looking to pawn them off, I feel like I could find a spot for a Jason and Paula dual bobblehead. That's so funny.
That's good.
It's a great wedding gift.
Yeah, I don't like if you come to a wedding and this is what you take home. I don't know if that's a great gift or not. It's a great gift for me, but would you would it make your bobblehead collection? Like, would you?
Yeah.
I would think it would be probably further to the back of the rotation, though, right? Toward the back
Give one
row.
to Strofe, and you're forcing a trade on me. No,
I haven't given one to Strofe.
You're a big enough deal to have a bobblehead of yourself. I'm just an idiot who talks smack on the radio. Like, I don't have a bobblehead.
I think you can make those now fairly inexpensively. I got to talk to my guy Phil at the Bobblehead Museum, the National Bobblehead Museum. Maybe we could get a Strofe bobblehead, when you've accomplished more in your career.
Yeah, give me a couple of years if you don't mind.
I will be happy to do that. All right, we've got Matt and Alex at Pin Seekers in DeForest. We've got Riley and Hunter in the Everlight Solar ESPN Madison studios. Then you got me in my basement. But I ventured out of it yesterday, and I was in the Gruberlovs' One Call That's All studios in Milwaukee along with Josh DiMaggio. We've got a whole crew here making sure that we keep you entertained in the absence of Tausch and Jesse. You think Jesse's driving to Dubuque right now, and do you think he's listening to the show?
No, I think he's hungover, sleeping in a hotel room in Dubuque, Iowa, because I believe he got there last night. He left work immediately after the show yesterday, Jason. He's the hardest working man in showbiz, as we like to call him.
Good. I can poke fun at him all I want, and he won't hear it then. All right, we're gonna shift gears a little bit and talk a little bit of actual football, because Strofe caught Chewy making a very interesting statement about this team, because he's been a little skeptical over the past year, and his statement really resonated with Strofe. We'll hear what he had to say. Want to remind you, I mentioned I was in Milwaukee yesterday. I was meeting with our friends from Associated Bank, and we had a great lunch. They are a great, great partner, and if you are a Packers fan, there is no better place to be banking than Associated Bank. Not only do you get your Packers Debit MasterCard, not only do you get 10% off the Packers Pro Shop, both in-store and online, but you get their great customer service. And I'm a bad secret keeper. Everyone knows I'm a bad secret keeper. There might be some fun little things coming with Associated Bank with the NFL draft coming to Green Bay a year from now. So if you haven't signed up for Packers checking yet, might be a good time to do it. I'm just saying, I might have a little insider information there for you. So go to AssociatedBank.com/Packers to find out more. AssociatedBank.com/Packers. More from Pin Seekers in DeForest. It's Wilde and Tausch.
On air, online, and on demand. Get all your favorite ESPN Wisconsin content anywhere you get your podcasts for free. The new Wisconsin On Demand. It's free, it's everywhere, and it's for you.
Hey, it's Jason Wilde from ESPN Milwaukee talking about my friends, and I do mean friends, at Boucher Automotive Group. For over 4 decades, one name has stood out as a symbol of excellence in automotive sales and service. You know what it is. It's Boucher Automotive Group, dedicated to providing exceptional experiences to all their valued customers. They will help you find the perfect vehicle within your budget while respecting your time. That's what they've done for us through like 6 vehicles. With 20 convenient locations, they are the one-stop location for all your automotive needs. At Boucher, they are your trusted partner on every mile of your journey. Riding with you every mile since 1977. Boucher Automotive.
Order Naga Wicked Pale Ale Beer Battered Cod at the Delafield Brew House. Available Fridays for lunch and dinner. Dine in and enjoy a great atmosphere with your family and friends in the heart of Lake Country. Drink ale, live lager. The Delafield Brew House.
Woo! Hey, this is Ben Brust from Kyle Brust and Nortman on ESPN Wisconsin. People can't stop screaming about the Screamin' Sicilian frozen pizza, and no wonder. There's plenty to scream about, like the buttery stone-fired crust, secret recipe tomato sauce, mounds of whole milk mozzarella, and tons of premium toppings. Find Screamin' Sicilian in your local grocer's freezer and find out for yourself why Sport called Screamin' Sicilian's Holy Pepperoni frozen pizza the best of the best. Screamin' Sicilian, taste what all the screamin' is about.
Stay up to date on the Green and Gold all off season. The Green and Gold Fix podcast is brought to you by Potawatomi Casino Hotel. Luxury stay, elite play, unwind in sophisticated comfort. Win big, dine, and experience the events in Milwaukee.
Hey, Drew Scott here, and I'm Jonathan Scott, reminding you that life's better with a home policy from American Family Insurance. They can help you get just the right protection at just the right price and help you save when you bundle home and auto. kind of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. It'll be just right for you. We love a custom build. American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
Products not available in every state. Visit amfam.com to learn how discounts may apply to you. American Family Mutual Insurance Company SI and its operating company 6000 American Parkway, Madison, Wisconsin.
Truth, reason, and tolerance shaped our U.S. Constitution. But those building blocks of democracy are under attack. Big tech social media splits us apart, hurts our children, and causes violence and terror in our communities. Be a part of the change. Go to counterhate.com to learn more.
Get 0% interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. I'm Gina Della from Pella. Pella's free in-home consultations make replacing or redesigning your windows and doors easy. We go beyond just measuring and handing you a quote by listening and educating you on all of your product options. And with DesignWorks, you can see what your home will look like before you buy. Order by March 31st to get 0% interest for up to 3 years. Set your free consultation at PellaWI.com.
Certain restrictions apply.
Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin present your Badger Minute. Here's Alex Strofe.
This Badger Minute brought to you by UW Credit Union. For over 90 years, UW Credit Union has helped Wisconsinites achieve their financial goals at every stage of life, offering great rates for greater possibilities. Join today at uwcu.org. ESPN NFL draft expert Mel Kiper Jr. was on Wilde and Tausch on ESPN Wisconsin earlier this week and discussed his difficulty in assessing now former Wisconsin running back Braylon Allen ahead of the 2024 NFL draft.
Allen, I haven't figured out. And a lot of these guys, hey, you'll be right on some, you'll be wrong on others. But at least you have an idea, right? You have a strong conviction on those guys. I don't have it. I haven't been able to figure out Braylon Allen.
Find the full conversation with Mel Kiper Jr. on Wilde and Tausch, available wherever you get your podcast and on the ESPN Madison YouTube channel.
Get no interest for up to 3 years at Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin. Don't wait. You have to order by March 31st. Visit PellaWI.com.
Station updates, show clips, and your place to interact with us every single day just by scrolling through your feed. Follow along on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at ESPN Milwaukee. This is Wilde and Tausch on 94.5 ESPN, sponsored by American Family Insurance. Insure carefully, dream fearlessly. Get a quote and find an agent at amfam.com.
I am reluctant to say this because I don't want Matt Hamilton, Olympic gold medalist and fourth place finisher, to get a big head.
Too late.
But watching you hit golf balls at Pin Seekers, because I just had a source close to you send me video.
Right.
And maybe it's just this left-handed thing, but I don't think so, because I've seen Tausch swing a golf club. He's left-handed. Gabe Neitzel is left-handed. Mm-hmm. You're left-handed. But you look like Ken Griffey hitting a ball out of the ballpark. What a sweet-looking swing.
Sometimes it is. Sometimes it gets pretty choppy and pretty ugly. And Strofe came out there. That was the first swing of the day, so I appreciate that. That was pretty nice of you to say, because it felt like an ugly swing.
Well, I don't know if they'll get better or worse as the 50-cent Coors Lights flow, and then they become $1 Coors Lights, because still a great bargain. We'll see how that affects the ball striking for you. Strofe, you said you listened to Jen, Gabe, and Chewy on your drive up from Milwaukee, which you could have made last night, as we've confirmed. But
whatever.
He made a comment. I think this was it yesterday or was it this morning? I lose track.
I believe it was actually Wednesday, Jason, but continue.
About the Packers window, which is, I'm sure, a beautiful Pella Windows and Doors of Wisconsin window. But he talked about his expectations for this team and his expectations for Jordan Love. And when I listened to this after you sent it over, I thought, wow, Chewy, big time drinking the Kool-Aid. Here is Chewy on Jen, Gabe, and Chewy on ESPN Milwaukee.
I wouldn't bet on them this year, but I fully, God, I think they win one in this next three. I think they win one in this next three, and before Jordan's out of here, he'll win another one. I really do. I mean, the stars are aligned. All he has to do, he doesn't even have to have the draft he had last year, if he has half that, I mean, they're in a great place. They got money. They got draft picks. They got guys who can play. But like I said, there will be a transition period in the defense. And the two things that concern me are this, Jed. Offensive line. Okay? He's got to hit the picks because they have a depth problem and they have to stay healthy. If two of those things do not happen, they don't stay healthy, and he doesn't hit the picks, that can spell disaster for a team. And I think I said it yesterday. A linebacking core isn't going to totally disrupt a season. The offensive line can. So that's a concern. And then my other concern is, was it the players on defense last year, or was it Joe Barry? And we're going to find that out very early, because if it was the players, then that's going to push things back a little bit.
So I love that Chewy is so brimming with confidence about this regime, and it's the opposite of, as many people have heard, it's kind of like Eddie Lacy, the league comes at you fast. As many have heard, Alex Strofe, Gabe Neitzel, and I in a trailer down by the river or by Lake Michigan at Summerfest, on the Summerfest grounds, where we had the alarm bells going against you, and it turned out in the first 7 games we looked like we knew exactly what we were talking about, and by the end of the season they had overcome that. I am curious, when you hear Chewy talk about this, knowing that Brett Favre won 1 Super Bowl and went to one other, and Aaron Rodgers went to 1 Super Bowl and won it and never got back to another one, to hear him saying that Jordan Love is going to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years and then win another one later in his career, from his lips to the football god's ears, right? Because that would make the Packers relevant for another decade plus, and that would be great. It almost sounds to me like one of the great tight ends in Packers history has forgotten just how freaking hard it is to win championships. That is my initial reaction. What was yours when you heard it?
Yeah, I'll start, Matt, if you don't mind. I think listening to this earlier this week, Jason, you just alluded to it, right? We date back to last July when you, myself, and Gabe Neitzel are at Summerfest. You two are about as glass half empty as can be about the rebuilding Green Bay Packers. I was still trying to maintain my optimism, but it was ripped to shreds by you and Gabe. Ultimately, we saw how this team did in the youth movement that Brian Gutekunst built. They win a playoff game. They make the playoffs. They have the top-seeded team that ultimately ended up winning the NFC on the ropes in the postseason. I'm about as optimistic of a fan as you can get. But hearing 1 Super Bowl in the next 3 years and 2 overall for Jordan Love makes me ponder, are we overvaluing Jordan Love's first season as the starter in Green Bay? I have high hopes for what he can turn into as the Green Bay Packers starting quarterback. But we've only seen a stretch of 9 or 10 games that was really, really good. Can he maintain that, though, for the entirety of a season and a postseason? That still remains to be seen. I'm not trying to be negative, because I think Jordan Love can be a really damn good quarterback in the NFL. But can he be Patrick Mahomes level to the point where you're winning multiple Super Bowls in a tenure as the Packers starting quarterback, which could be 8 years, it could be 10 years, and if we're lucky and if history repeats itself yet again, it could be 13 or 14 years. But 2 Super Bowls in that timeline, that's high hopes. I mean, I love it. I love the take from Chewy. I hope he's right. I hope he's further right. I hope they win 8 Super Bowls in 10 years. But you're right, Jason. It is really hard to win a Super Bowl in the NFL, and I still think the Packers are probably a couple of years away.
Matt, you've come around on Love in a big way, like I have. I was the reason I was so negative with Strofe at Summerfest was because we basically had 10 throws against Philly in that game after Rodgers left in 2022 to work off of, where he looked good. Other than that, there were some glimpses during preseason games, but that's preseason. And again, I know I bring this up a lot.
Chiefs game.
Right, and there was that game, and there were those 2020 and 2021 practices where he did not look like he was ever going to be an NFL starting quarterback. That's just the reality. And, I thought David Bakhtiari last week, talking about how our eyes are tainted by watching Rodgers and Favre. I agree with that, but he just did not look very good. And now he's completely changed that, and he deserves a ton of credit for doing that and taking advantage of the time he was waiting. But, Matt, as a fan, and you're watching him now, do you think that Chewy's take is a realistic one, or is that we're getting a little swept up, a little over our skis, as Tausch has been known to get?
Well, first, I hope Chewy knocked on wood after he said that, because I don't want to jinx anything. I do think that the Packers can be one of the top teams in the NFC for a while moving forward. Obviously, we've got to figure out the defense, and like he was mentioning, that offensive line can absolutely ruin a quarterback. We saw what happened to Justin Fields in Chicago. So you need an offensive line to protect your guy. And I don't know if his first comment about winning one in the next 3 years is true. I do think that the Packers have the pieces, the youth right now, and if everybody is able to make steps forward, which doesn't always happen, but if a lot of these young guys who had good rookie and sophomore campaigns can continue to grow and improve, I like our chances at being an absolute contender for the NFC and making that Super Bowl. But once you're in that NFC Championship game in the Super Bowl, you're playing another elite level team. There's no guarantee that you get away with it. One bad turnover or one little mistake by a DB and you give up an ugly touchdown, and that game could be over. And there's such a fine margin between winning and losing at that level. It's hard for me to say I'm confident that Jordan Love will win 2 Super Bowls in his Packer tenure. I'm confident that he is going to be a NFC Championship perennial guy, a guy who's always going to be in the mix to make that NFC Championship game and maybe even win it a couple times. But getting that Super Bowl done and everything else, I think he does make an appearance at some point in his career in Green Bay.
So I hear you say that, Matt, and I'm curious as a Packers fan because I'm thinking about it as you're talking about it. Is that good enough? Right, we've had that. And winning is really fun. I'm not saying we want to be crappy in the basement like the Chicago Bears have been. Sorry, Jim Rutledge. The last decade and a half.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say sorry, not sorry.
But yes. Aaron Rodgers was an NFC Championship perennial quarterback. He made a ton of them. He just lost most of them, other than one, right, back in 2010. Is that good enough for you to be an NFC Championship perennial quarterback, but maybe not good enough to win the big game? Would you be satisfied with that?
Okay, so the athlete side of me, the guy who competes in sports and realizes how difficult it is to win when everybody is elite, that part of me is yes, that's good enough because it is so hard to get it done. As a fan, no, I want that championship as a fan. So it's really tough. Sometimes I gotta separate myself and realize hey, I know these guys make millions, but they're people too, and mistakes do happen, and they're playing other guys who are fantastic football players. So maybe this was me guarding my heart a little bit as a fan, saying I'm content with this. I would be content with it. I don't think I would be thrilled, but I wouldn't be upset because you're going to get 17 weeks of great football in the regular season and then potentially another month and a half to just enjoy what they're doing. If he never wins another Super Bowl but makes it there, that's a really long season to really enjoy being a fan of a team, and I don't think that can be taken for granted.
One of the worst parts of my job is that I always feel like I have to, I think I've used this with you before, Strofe, I'm like the thumb on the scale. And if it's going too far one direction, I always feel like I have to put my thumb on it to go the other direction. And there was a lot of negativity at 2-5, and Tausch got after me pretty good for daring to say that I saw glimpses of spectacular play, which I still believe I saw, and I felt justified in then how he played, Love played later. Now I feel like I have to be on the other side of the scale because I do think we've gotten swept up in how good that stretch was, which, by the way, was also mixed in with the loss to Tampa and not a very impressive performance against the worst team in the league in Carolina on Christmas Eve. We kind of forget those games. The Giants game, right? And so I understand and I love that fans are excited. Yes, Tommy DeVito. How you doing?
Forget.
But I don't want to be Debbie Downer to fans that are swept up in the euphoria of how good Jordan Love looked. The one thing I keep going back to is the analogy to a pitcher going through the batting lineup a second and a third time, and they start to figure him out a little bit better. And that pitcher then has to figure out ways to counterbalance that. And I'm eager to see what Jordan does. I don't know if you've listened to the show before, but I like Jordan.
Yeah, you
I
do.
really want to see him.
Time or two.
I want to see him succeed because I like him as a person, not because I'm a Packers fan. And I think he will. But the idea of proclaiming he's going to win a Super Bowl in the next 3 years and then win another one subsequently is a lot. And to me, it just makes it sound like it's easier than it is. Because, yeah, you're damn right that Aaron Rodgers should have won another Super Bowl. They shouldn't have collapsed in 14. They shouldn't have lost at
Absolutely.
At
right.
least appeared in one more.
Shouldn't have lost in 20 playing at home. And if David Bakhtiari doesn't shred his knee during a Thursday in pads practice, which he's clearly still bitter about, on New Year's Eve, they probably do go to the Super Bowl because their offensive line was junk in that game. So I get it. But that's the kind of stuff that happens. And so you need good players. You need them playing well when the game is on the line. But you also need some luck. And maybe they'll get that luck, right? The Packers in 2010 got the luck of a huge return by Jackson for the Eagles, right, to keep them afloat, right? I mean, there were things that went their way. So, again, I hope Chewy's right because that's going to be some compelling football to cover. We're going to have to wait and see. But get swept up in the euphoria. Go right ahead.
Well, hold on, Jason, because I have been swept up in the euphoria. Not quite to the point of Chewy, but Chewy's opinion aside, are we overvaluing the 9-10 game stretch of Jordan Love, or is it a will tell type situation in your opinion?
I think, and look, you can value it as however you want to, right? You watch the games. You know what you're watching. Yeah. For me, there is part of me that probably my view is skewed because I also saw him struggle early in his career. And then there's no doubt that he improved I'm not going to swear on the radio, just like you're not going to drink Coors Lights, but a hell of a lot, right? I mean, he improved a ton, and that's he had good talent around him. That's Matt LaFleur's scheme. That's Tom Clements improving his fundamentals. But most of the credit goes to Jordan Love for making that happen. Because he did not look like an NFL quarterback the first 2 years that we watched him in training camp. And so maybe I am still thinking about how he looked in the first 7 games and then thinking about my analogy about the pitcher going through the batting order and saying, man, now that they know what he is, I would think defensive coordinators will have a better idea of how to defend him and how to counteract. You know, I'm sure defensive coordinators also were surprised to see the Packers running their offense as it was designed, as opposed to however the last guy ran it, and change things constantly. So those things all kind of factor in. But again, I think you should be really excited about how good he was last year. I just don't think it's going to be quite as easy as maybe some folks seem to think. That's the best place I can land.
Interesting. Not as easy as some folks think.
Like they think these next coming years, because the last 10 games we're gonna be a perennial 13-12 win team or better, right? Like,
and they might be, Matt.
And they might be, right?
But that's hard to do in the NFL.
That's the wait and see part of this. But what we saw as Packers fans down the stretch and into the postseason, I would even the loss against San Francisco outside of maybe the fourth quarter. The guy was terrific. He was as good as anybody in the National Football League at his position throughout that course of time. So I'm super intrigued to see if he can piece it together throughout the entirety of the 2024 campaign, because I assume the timeline that we heard from Chewy in that clip, 3 years, is because all these guys are under contract for 3 years on their rookie deals, right? Yep. The tight ends, the wide receivers. Now Josh Jacobs on a 4-year deal. This is the window. The Pella window is wide open. It's just a matter of if we can see the team we saw in December and January, or if we see again the team, God forbid, that we saw in October.
Yeah, the bottom line is this, and to put a bow on it so we can play trivia late, because that's our MO here, no matter if Tausch is here or not, is Jordan Love was so good against Dallas. I mean, I'm still mad at Matt LaFleur for putting him back in and having him throw that incomplete pass to Tucker Kraft because he had a perfect 158.3 passer rating. Yeah, 157.2 is still really good, but it ain't perfection. And if you just left him on the bench and not panicked, he would have had a perfect passer rating in a playoff game. His first playoff start. And what bothers me is that he made it look really easy in that game. Really easy. Like the touchdown throw to Wicks, and everything clicked. And it's not always going to be that way. And I'm not trying to be Debbie Downer when I say that. I'm just saying that's what fuels this expectation, because he was really freaking good. Really perfect, some might say, until Matt LaFleur screwed it up. All right, well, we're hoping that we'll have perfect trivia today. Strofe, did you do this all by your lonesome?
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you right off